I'm so excited to have my dear friend Deanna Whiteley today on the Awakened Feminine podcast. Deanna is a trauma-informed holistic coach and healer, and she's here to help people go from exhausted and disempowered to nourished and holistically strong. And I know she has so much love and wisdom to share with us. She's joining me all the way from British Columbia in Canada. Welcome to the show, Deanna.
Thank you for having me. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. It's been a really long time coming, hasn't it?
Yeah, so we've been trying to get this together for a while, but the stars have aligned and here she is. And I'm so excited because she's my soul sister. We talk on the phone, she's in Canada, so we try and talk to on the phone quite frequently, but sometimes the time zones don't quite work. And this is a little bit weird for us as well, because we usually just on like audio. So we don't usually see each other's faces as well. So it's pretty cool.
So nice to see your beautiful face.
I know, same. So I'm so excited for our conversation today because I know like a lot of your story and I know you've got so much that you can teach us. Before we dive into our conversation, I'd love to know, what is your definition of an awakened feminine?
Oh gosh, my definition of awakened feminine. I would say just really tapping into your inner essence. I would say sort of like on my journey, I've noticed that the disempowered part that we talk about is usually connected to the feminine part. So I would say that an awakened feminine is a feminine that starts to see their power and feel their power and just start to let that like inner radiance just shine through. And obviously that can be in a man, a woman, or whatever you identify as. It's just getting connected with that feminine essence within you.
Yeah. Thank you. I love that definition. So powerful because, we forget how powerful we are when we lose our sense of identity, our sense of who we are. So remembering that power and awakening that feminine is so important. So let's jump into your journey, because I know you've got lots. So I don't even know where you're going to start or where we're going to start. But let's start with how you got into telling us more about, what your personal mission is and why you do what you do.
Well, if we really want to go super deep, then I would say this is like getting into this after experiencing a lot of trauma in my life, realizing that this is actually generational stuff. So if we talk about the awakened feminine, I have a generational line of women who've been disempowered, have been abused, have been in narcissistic relationships and just controlled. And, it's not just my story, it's the feminine story, right? It's the unawakened feminine story. Yeah. So, my full mission here is to help to empower that divine feminine that lives within all of us and building that strong relationship with the masculine energy that lives within us. Because when you have an unawakened feminine, you also have a very authoritarian, controlling, narcissistic, masculine energy that lives within you, right? Yeah. That ends up attracting that in your life. So it's about having that relationship, that co-creation within yourself is my biggest mission for sure, in myself, and then helping other people. Yeah. Because if I don't have that within myself, it's hard to help other people, create that relationship as well.
Yeah. It's also a kind of never ending work as well. You think you heal some part of it and you're like, cool. And then something else comes up and you're like, oh, okay, there's so many layers that we need to heal. And the further we go, the more empowered and strong and resilient we become. I want to ask you, you're saying the relationship between the awakened feminine and really having, once you have that relationship, you then have the divine masculine. It's just like this beautiful dance that we can have between the feminine and the masculine. What does it look like when the masculine has taken over?
Oh, well, in the intro, exhaustion.
Yeah.
You know, it's essentially when the masculine has dominated the feminine, it looks as being very disempowered, very weak, allowing other people to control you. A lot of like health issues, pain, exhaustion, not standing up for yourself, not listening to your, like, what's right for you. You know, we're going to get into politics of what's going on in the world, but you know, that awakened feminine, she can't connect with what's right for her if she's got that dominating masculine energy within her.
And, you know, doing all the work that you've done on yourself, and also I know you help your clients do this as well. What's something that's really helpful for people to really start awakening the feminine and stop the masculine really taking over or every aspect of their life?
Well, for me personally, it was first having to understand like what the I'm going to say like the healed or the awakened qualities of each of those are. And in our life and in society, we're not shown what a healthy masculine actually is. Like a healthy masculine is silence, it's presence, it's the container that holds the feminine. So like if you think of it as like the masculine is a cup and the feminine is the water that goes into the cup. So learning how to actually start to be that for yourself is key. And I tell you, it's really, really tough if you have a very like a huge inner critic and abusive, you know, mindset on yourself to just try to get that to hold space for your feminine, for your emotions, for your feelings and everything to just flow through you. It takes practice. You just have to sit there and observe and give it the time and space that it needs. Because when the feminine feels pressured to do something, she'll shut down.
That's so true. And even like, I'm just thinking, there's a few things that popped up when you were talking and when you were saying the masculine being that cup and the female, you know, pouring in. Is that structure and the flow, you know, and having that beautiful, you know, balance between those two things. And, you know, even I'm just thinking about my relationship with when the feminine just shuts down is when, you know, things outside or people are overstepping the mark and we don't know how to stand up for ourselves or we don't know how to react. So then we just go, right, we just don't deal with it. And the more we don't deal with it, the more disempowered we become.
And then it's also about like the masculine is about setting boundaries too, right? Like, yes, it's all about presence, but the masculine is the one who protects the feminine. So of course you're going to feel shut down if your masculine doesn't feel strong, setting boundaries and saying, sorry, you crossed my boundary. Like back up.
You can swear on this podcast, it's fine. Swear as much as you like.
Okay. I'll be careful now.
Yeah, I was gonna cut, like, let loose. Yeah. So I know with you were saying that, you know, is really sitting there and observing, but you know, as we can see from, you know, what's happening in the world. And I mean, even when I see people, it's so funny. I'm so self-aware and I can see things now when I just talk to people and they're talking to me. I'm like, don't go into coaching, Kaki, just shut up, shut the fuck up. and
be the masculine presence.
Yeah. So observing and sitting in the presence. But people, like, what's a good way for people to start? Because it's so hard for people to just they don't even know what observing means. Like if you tell someone that has no awareness of feminine, masculine, and observing, they're like, what are you talking about? What am I supposed to observe? What am I supposed to do? Like, can you give our listeners some tips on how they can actually, actually take those steps? Because, they probably have some inkling, like, in your gut if something's right or wrong, but you still choose probably the wrong thing because you're like, nah, I'll just, go with what everyone else is doing, but you're not really paying attention to what your needs are and what you want. So for those people that have that inkling and go, oh, okay, people keep talking about observing, what can they actually do to start observing?
Yeah. Well, maybe to simplify it, I personally see the body as the feminine and the mind as the masculine. So maybe an easier practice instead of like, oh, let me observe my thoughts and stuff like that, because that would be all masculine, right? Like observing your thoughts. So it's about trying to get out of your head and into your body, which I know is very, very challenging, but even just trying to just start with getting connected to your body and being like, what do I feel in my body? Let me say, okay, I'm feeling something in my stomach. Okay, cool. What does it feel like? And try to just explain what that actually feels like. And then maybe how does that make me feel? And so just getting into like just asking a couple questions and, oh, if it had a name, what would I call it? Or if we really want to go into say like parts work or something, how old is that part that's held in my stomach? So the observation can still be questions, right? That might be, instead of just being completely silent, it'll give that masculine something to do because it wants to control.
I love how you put that, the masculine is the mind and the body is the feminine, because that's the part we don't trust. And that's such a great way for people to see it and understand, oh, right. That's how we can differentiate. I want to ask you, are you comfortable talking about your pain journey? Because I think that's, such a big part of your journey. And I know you've done so much work on that. Because, at the beginning you were talking when the masculine takes over, it can manifest as pain. So can you take us on your journey down that, recovery?
Oh, it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah.
Like where to start, like, talk about one specific pain thing. Like I've had pain everywhere in my body and it's got progressively worse. Yeah.
Maybe the latest, well, not the latest, but, when you actually just couldn't really even move or do much.
Yeah. So my biggest realization with pain with that is I can't remember what the app is right now. It'll come to me, but I started doing some like more like neurological, like brain rewiring stuff, because what I realized is that pain is actually in the brain. It's not in the physical body. There's not a connection that goes from the body to the brain and saying pain. It's the other way around, unless you have like a physical injury. But a lot of times after the injury is gone, the pain is still there. And the pain is still there because we have trauma and emotions and everything that's still stuck in there. And then what happens is we create this loop. So I know for me personally, when I feel something in my body that doesn't feel good, it feels painful, then all of a sudden the inner critic comes on and the shamer and it judges it, it criticizes it, and then it tries to fix it. which then goes and adds more pain to it. And it just keeps me in that cycle of trying to fix myself. And then when you're in that shame cycle of that there's something wrong with you and there's something that needs to be fixed, well, it's like your wish is my command, right? Like we create our own reality. So you keep creating it over and over and over again. So for me, I was doing this program that was helping to rewire the neurological pathways. And it was so tough because I had to get out of my cycle first of being like, I feel pain. I need to go online. I need to research. I need to figure it out. Like, what is this pain telling me? What is wrong with my body? Because as soon as I started to do it, I was creating more pain in my body. I was catastrophizing it. And I was stuck in that loop for so long. And eventually I had to like disconnect from my body for me to be able to heal it. But what I've learned this year, diving more into trauma, that's not always the best thing to do, is disconnect from your body. It's about loving and accepting that part. And that part is trying to show you something. The injury is trying to show you something. And if you're trying to fix it, you're not listening. If you're trying to fix it, you're in that wounded masculine energy instead of being the presence of, okay, mine, it was back and it was sciatic pain. And it was like, okay, what are you trying to show me? And I would go in and I would try to research. I go in Louise Hay's book and all these other books. I'm like, what does sciatica mean?
Yeah.
And that was still me trying to fix it instead of me specifically listening to that part of my body. So bringing it back to the conversation we were having a few minutes ago, it's about getting connected to, how does that feel in my body right now? And that's been the magic for me, is listening to that part of my body and saying, how does that actually feel in my body? What emotions does that bring up? And now how it's making me feel, where is that mirrored in my daily life and in my relationships? Because that's connected. So if it's bringing out anger and frustration when I feel the pain, what am I so angry and frustrated about in my life? Because that's correlated right there.
Wow. That's so profound. And I love how when you were going through disconnecting your body from your brain, and it is that disconnection of the feminine with the masculine, isn't it? And it's like, well, actually, no, we need to have them work together. And how do we get them to work together? And then it's then asking the questions. And yeah, wow. So how long, I know you did have that for a while, and you're still working through it. How long did it take you to really start getting better, knowing that that's what you needed to kind of do?
Oh, it took a while because I was stubborn as fuck. And because I have the tendency, this is back into the feeling disempowered and not trusting yourself. I was always going outside of myself to like coaches and mentors and courses and whatever and videos. And I was taking in all this information, trying to figure out how to fix myself. So I kept getting myself in that loop, going outside of myself instead of just being present with what I was feeling in my body. And it's only been probably in the last 6 months that I'm finally like, oh, okay. So I keep recreating this over and over again because I'm trying to fix it, and I'm not getting connected to what my body's actually trying to tell me. Like if you want to think about even your feminine as your inner child, if you've got a child, they're yelling and screaming and having a tantrum, and you just ignore it and shut the door on it, like it's not going to help. It's going to keep having its tantrum.
Yeah.
Right.
I've experienced that.
Yeah. So it's like, you got to, treat your body that way as well. Like it's going to keep speaking to you and getting louder and louder and louder until you start to listen.
And, what your pain story, completely also correlates with everything we do in life. It's not just the pain. It's using that using that to ask yourself for everything that's happening in your life. You know, like you were saying, you kept looking outside for answers, how to fix yourself. We do that, like people do that with everything. It's like, okay, who can help me? What course do I need to take? Et cetera, et cetera. And of course, those things are worthwhile, you know, to learn. But a lot of times when you go in to learn, you know, buy a course or something, you kind of go, oh, I need to do everything they're telling me, when maybe only you needed only that little tiny bit just to, you know, give you that shift. But then you get stressed out because you're like, oh, but I need to do everything that person's telling me. So it's, again, listening to your body and going, all right, I did this course. That's the thing that I need to take out of it.
Yeah.
Because it feels good to me. And not using, you know, getting into your brain and putting all the shoulds in, because, you know, again, it's just that, and is that trusting yourself, what is good for you and what isn't good for you.
And then also having love and compassion for yourself when you get caught up in those loops. So like this lesson you're just talking about, trusting yourself and being like, I just need something from a course. I signed up for a course in September, $10,000 US, which I don't know, it was probably about $15,000 for me, that I did not have the money for.
Yeah.
And the lesson that I got out of it is I need to stop going outside of myself to get, you know, advice and how to do things from other people. And I was like, oh my God, that was a really expensive lesson that I'm still paying for this day, because I made an emotional, impulsive decision and I felt weak and disempowered. And I was like, I need you to help me. And then after, it was like, oh, just so that I can turn the camera back inside and learn this lesson like once and for all. And like you were saying, things get loud. If you don't listen, then it gets louder and louder until it's like this big smack across your face going, stop it. Stop doing what you're doing. You just need to step back and listen to what your soul, your body needs. It's a fun lesson to learn, definitely. When the universe keeps telling you no, and you just keep going on that path. But I also find that, you know, the lessons we learn, or there's always something that we get out of it, even though you kind of go, oh, I shouldn't have done that, and I should have listened to my gut and all that kind of stuff. There's always something you get out of it. And exactly.
So there's always a lesson, or there's something beautiful that comes out of it. I've been in, you know, the same kind of thing. I signed up to this course because I was so desperate. I think it was a year before now. Gosh, that's gone by very quickly. But it was this very masculine course. And I was already in a very masculine energy. I'm always, you know me, like very, you know, I need to do all this stuff. Yes. Shush. Shush.
You guys don't need to know.
So this is about you, not about me. But
we can do another one about you.
And the same thing, you know, I was like, oh, you know, I felt so disempowered, and I was like, I just needed, stress that word, needed something. What I needed was me, but I needed something. So I looked outside, and it was this very masculine course. It really didn't resonate with me at all. But what I got out of it was this beautiful bunch of women that I now, you know, am able to connect with, and I can call my friends, and they're scattered all over the world. So if you guys are listening, hello. But, you know, it's as much as sometimes it's not what we should have done, you still get something out of it. It just means that you take longer to get to where you want to go.
Well, the thing is I don't think anything is by mistake. So like that conversation we just had, that was totally my ego. Right. Because like, obviously I was meant to take it. I was meant to meet certain people. There were things that I learned. It was like, things needed to get louder. The cost of me not listening had to get so damn loud so that I would go within and I would trust myself. And the interesting thing about that is what I'm beginning to teach people now is something that I tried to start teaching back in 2019, but I didn't have the confidence to do it. I didn't trust myself in doing it. People weren't ready for it at the time. And the last retreat I was just in at the beginning of this month in the course that I'm in, it was showing me that science is finally catching up with what I'm teaching. So it was like, oh, the validation, even though I don't need validation because I'm finally stepping into my confidence that like, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm teaching is helping people. And it just was really in a huge roundabout way, right? Like how many years was that? Like 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Almost 3 years.
2019. Yeah.
Of me searching outside of myself. What's my purpose? Let me find my purpose when it's always been inside. And I just needed to trust that these intuitive messages that I was getting consistently are my gift. And they were so easy for me, but I didn't trust it because I wasn't trusting myself and I didn't have that inner strength. So as soon as I started to focus on building my inner strength, my self-confidence, my self-empowerment, it just like flew right out of me. And that was a powerful thing. I literally, within 2 weeks, was able to build that strength within myself and get into action. And I was like, how many years did it take me to like finally step into that? No judgment on myself. It's just an interesting observation that when you stop, you tell the world, you know what, you can stay over here for now, set your boundaries. I'm going to go within, I'm going to connect with myself, and I'm going to build that like foundation, that inner strength within me. And I'm going to begin to trust myself. And then I'm going to share myself with the world. And then maybe I'll pick and choose like a few things here and there from different like mentors, but it's going to complement what I'm doing, not change what I'm doing all the time. Because you see it all over social media. How do I find my purpose? How do I find my purpose? How do I find my purpose? You know what? Stop looking for your purpose is how you're going to find it. Go within and get connected to yourself and get grounded and rooted in who you are and build your confidence. And it'll just flow out of you.
Yeah.
And that's the advice I'd give to myself back into 2019. If you were to ask that question later.
Well, I don't need to ask it anymore then. But it's so true because we just have such a tendency to look outside if we follow the breadcrumbs of what we actually have been interested in doing, or all the thoughts that we've had throughout our lives. That kind of all connects a dot, but we don't trust ourselves enough to believe that is actually what we're here and meant to do in this life of ours. So it's so crazy. And I want to ask you, you said you built your strength in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Is it because you just made the decision? You just went, fuck it. I know this is what I need to do. I'm deciding right now that this is what I'm doing. And then it just kind of all happened.
That and a few other things. So this is what I'm helping people with right now is I finally got to the point where I was like not dissociating from my past version self that was a personal trainer and so in touch with the body and so incredible at helping people get connected to their body, align their body, strengthen themselves. I realized, so I had lost all my physical strength, my physical, mental, emotional strength. And I was like, I can't help other people because I literally can't even like move my body without hurting myself. And so I realized, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I have to strengthen myself. And I understand that the correlation between my mental strength, my emotional strength, my spiritual strength is connected to my physical strength. And in the past, I was trying to just work out to build my physical strength. I would stop. It wasn't doing anything. I was still having a shit ton of back pain and sciatic pain. And then I would be like, let me just focus on like my spiritual lessons and try to like rewire my mind and work on regulating my emotions and doing my trauma work. And that wasn't getting me anywhere. And then finally it hit me and I'm like, This is what you're here to help people with. You know, you've got the physical stuff down. Like, you're so good at that. And part of me really missed teaching people that stuff. I'm like, and you're a healer and you're a coach. We got to bring that stuff together, because that's what embodiment is. It's your mind, your body, your emotions, and your spirit. And so within 2 weeks, I came up with a plan. I was like, I needed to incorporate all that together in a program for myself. And so this is how my purpose, I really stepped into my purpose, is it was like, well, I need to be accountable to myself doing this. So I started doing workouts, and I started to add an intention that was going to help me to rewire my mind, rewire my being to be more empowered and stronger internally. And I started doing these workouts, and I was like, I can just post these workouts in a group and invite people in the group and build my community that way. And so that's what I started doing. And it's been amazing, because I'm focusing on me and my journey, and I'm sharing my journey with other people, and it's helping them. Because in the past, what I would do is I would bypass myself, sacrifice myself. Let me just go help other people. I'm good. When all along I'm having all this pain and I'm exhausted, I'm just riding that wave of being exhausted, having energy and all different injuries showing up, health conditions showing up, because I was ignoring my feminine. So now I'm bringing the masculine and the feminine together in so many different ways, right? I'm bringing the mental and the emotional. I'm bringing the physical and the energetic. I'm doing the work for myself, and I'm also serving others, because serving is also a masculine quality. A lot of times we think it's a feminine quality. You know, taking care of people is actually a masculine quality, because it's a doing thing.
Yeah.
So
that's
how I did it. I chose, and then I was like, I need to incorporate everything to build my strength. Because at that point I was like, I don't have a choice. It's now or never. And I need to stop going outside of myself, and I need to go within and strengthen myself. And I tell you, in December, I was not sleeping because my back was so painful. I couldn't lie on my back.
Yeah.
And I would try to lie on my side, and then my hip would be so sore, and I was just switching side to side. I wasn't sleeping. And within a week of following this program that I made for myself, my pain was gone. And I was like, how long was I like, like a year before? A while. All the medications and going to like the ER and like everything, doctor's appointments and injections and everything. Yeah.
I know. And, I've been on this journey with you since we kind of met, 2020, beginning of 2020. And, the changes I've seen within you, especially in the last few months, it's like phenomenal. It's like, who is this person? And I know that she's always been there, but now you're actually letting her out. You're like, whereas before you were hiding her, now, you're letting her out. And it's just so beautiful to see. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Oh my God, you're going to make me cry.
I didn't expect that, but, it's just so nice to see.
It's been a journey.
Yeah.
For sure. Because I was looking outside of myself, trying to get someone to tell me, who am I here to serve? Because it's like, things would just work out for me if I was able to live in my purpose, if I was able to serve people, because that lights my heart up. But all along I was missing myself.
Yeah.
Just taking care of my basic needs, right? And looking outside of myself for someone to tell me, this is what you need to do. Trying to use other people's different modalities and, teach my clients those things. And I'm like, it just felt so wrong. I didn't feel confident in it, because it wasn't me. And I have this gift of aligning people. And, when I realized that there's a correlation between what I'm feeling in my physical body, in my posture, in what parts are weak, what parts are strong, what parts are tight, what parts are maybe a little bit too mobile. Those things were showing me something about my personality and who I was being. And I was trying to shift those things separately. And then when I realized that they were mirroring each other, and for you to rewire your brain and shift things on a physical level in your DNA, you need to combine it together. Like you can't just do one at a time. Like we're like this being, right? Like we're this oneness. Yeah. We're not like always individual. We are individual parts, but we make up this oneness, right?
Yeah.
And it was just powerful when I began to like just bring it together, and it brought me back to like my training. And I'm like, the type of training I would do was very functional, where it was like, we didn't just do like isolation exercises. I'm not going to do a bicep curl. If I want to strengthen my bicep, I'm going to do like pull-ups instead, where I'm working my full body to do a pull-up, because I got to keep my core tight. I'm using my glutes. I'm using my back. I'm using my shoulders, like all of the things. So bringing that into, you know, healing your body and just transforming your life and aligning yourself to your soul, you need to bring all those pieces together, right? Like that's what it's holistic, a holistic approach to strengthening yourself. And when you do that, it's like so quick the shifts.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
I love it. It will, I mean, you know, even the mainstream talk about mind, body, and soul, right? It's something that's, you know, people talk about mind, body, and soul, but it is so true that those need to be connected and be healing at the same time, because otherwise you're disconnected from one part of you.
Exactly.
And what we've been talking about this whole time is having that connection, feminine, masculine, body, mind, emotions, soul, whatever you want to call, but it's having that connection and realizing that, you know, you need to bring all the different parts of you together in order to be whole again. Because, you know, even thinking about, you know, if you go about your daily life, you probably only show one part of you to a certain, you know, if you're in the workplace, you only show that part of you because that's only suitable for the workplace. If you show the other side, people might go, oh, you know, she's a bit weird. So, you know, you've got this suppression of who you really are. And we spend so much, you know, people spend so much time at work, you know, is a wonder why people get burnt out and exhausted and disempowered, because they're not actually being able to show all the different parts of themselves when really it doesn't matter.
Think about how much energy it takes to repress yourself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That itself can cause exhaustion and burnout.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, you know, really quite profound. I mean, this just kind of coming out of my mouth now. I mean, like, I know it, but it just kind of went, oh yeah, that's right. You know, as we're talking is like, oh yeah, you know, just think about it. We just don't get to show all the different parts of ourselves. And even, you know, for you, for me, and a lot of people who are, you know, wanting to create impact in the world, we always try to just hide the different parts of ourselves so that people can only see the best part of us.
Yeah.
You know, the most confident, or, you know, only the very professional side. But people know, like everyone knows that you've got all these different sides, and it just doesn't create a very truthful representation of you. You know, if you do that, and it takes a lot of energy, like you say, to repress that. And it's energy that's better spent elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And hearing you say that makes me want to sort of like talk about the trauma-informed lens of that. Now, if we're repressing parts of ourselves, it's because we actually don't feel safe expressing them, right? So forcing that part of you to be seen by the world is re-traumatizing it. So that's just as bad as you repressing it and throwing it out there. It's going to probably have like a breakdown. So it's about getting connected to the part of you and like, and asking like, well, why don't you feel safe sharing this part of yourself? You know, what happened to create that? Because when we're not doing certain things, it's because it's actually a part of us that's keeping us safe. So it's like, what are you trying to keep me safe from? Because if I just go and I throw you out there, like, that's not going to be good. for any part of ourselves, right? So that's where that connection piece comes in. It's like, let me get connected to that part. What does that part actually need to feel safe, to put myself out there to the world? And doing it in baby steps and creating what are called disconfirming experiences. You know, you do one little baby step and then you look back and you reflect and be like, okay, cool. Like, we didn't get rejected. We didn't get shamed. We didn't get abandoned. We didn't die. We're okay. And then you do that a few more times and then you take the next step. Because a lot of times what happens is I feel like the spiritual community has you be like, just be yourself, throw yourself out there to the world. And then you traumatize yourself and you create even more resistance with it. And it's about taking the baby steps out there, right? Not the huge steps.
Yeah. Definitely. It's finding that evidence, you know, is for my evidence-based friends out there, you know, is being able to see, like you're saying, that worked. And building, then that helps you to build that confidence to go, okay, right. It's okay. It's safe. I can do this. Yeah.
And then I can trust my masculine. Because that was happening to me a ton. It was like I was very impulsive. My masculine was like, just throw all this stuff out there, just expose yourself to the world. And then all of a sudden my feminine's like, this isn't safe. And I was like, I don't trust you, masculine. I'm going to shut down.
Yeah.
Because you threw me out there. You like threw me off the edge.
Yeah.
So you need to rebuild that relationship with your feminine to be like, no, I know I said I would take it slow. And then the time I didn't, this time I'm going to. Like, I really want to build that relationship with you. So, and then you check in with that part of you. How did that feel?
Yeah. I'm just looking at the time. So this is such a great conversation, but we've just talked about so much, and I love that we were able to talk so much about the feminine and masculine, and, you know, that connection of your whole self, because, you know, that is such a big message that people need to hear, because it doesn't get talked about enough, I don't think. And the trauma, you know, what you were just talking about the trauma of, you know, what part of you repressing ourselves, and that's, you know, keeping us safe and all those things. It's just so important. And there's so much work that needs to be done on everyone, really, because, you know, everything that's playing out right now in the world is because everyone is so traumatized, really. It's just this trauma that's, it's just not being healed, and it's just kind of like coming up and coming out, and this is what's happening. So if every single person can actually look at their shit and go, all right, what do I need to heal? What does my inner child, what does my body want from me? And what does this feel good? I mean, how good would the world be?
Exactly. We wouldn't be in the mess we're in.
Yeah.
But the thing is what's happening. Sorry, this might take a minute, but what we're seeing on the world stage is actually everybody's stuff coming out that they're working on. We have to see it in the physical reality for it to shift. Yeah. So we pretty much just need to be the masculine presence to some extent, to just observe it all as it shifts and it comes to light.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, and it's much needed. So, you know, as much as it's traumatizing and a bit crazy, you know, it's necessary for everyone to start healing and seeing what needs to be healed as well. So before I wrap up, I want to ask you, because I know, you know, we talked about self-compassion and self-love, and, you know, that is also, I know, a big part of your journey. So when I asked you, you know, what does self-love mean to you? Like, what comes up for you?
What comes up for me is, I'm going to say, getting to know all the parts of yourself and accepting them as them being equal and them having a purpose that's actually serving you and to keep you safe. So self-love is to let go of the shame, right? And be like, oh, I'm grateful for that part of me, because it's been trying to keep me safe. And I love it. I love it unconditionally.
Mm-hmm.
And then connecting all those parts together to become whole again.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
And all parts of your body as well, like all of the injuries and pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're in pain, try to tell yourself to love the pain. Well, battle. That takes practice.
Yeah. And I know for you definitely know how to, you've had enough practice in the last little while.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, not even the last little while. It's been since 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. but that pain is just repressed emotions, and they just need to be seen and heard. You need to start being able to release them.
Yeah.
Allow them
Connection.
to have a voice.
Yeah. Connecting with your body. Connecting with your body and asking it what it needs.
To tell you. It's got stories for days.
Yeah, I bet it does. I just love our conversation, and I love you so much, and I'm just so happy to see, your growth and, your recovery. Before we wrap up, do you mind sharing with us what's setting your soul on fire right now?
What is setting my soul on fire?
Yeah.
Getting connected to myself for the first time in my life. Feeling strong inside myself. Like I can trust myself. Like I've got me. That I can fucking do this.
You can fucking do this. And showing emotions is strength.
Yeah.
Crying is strength. Yeah.
And I know that I'm like, yep, that's bang on, because it got me emotional. So
yeah,
it's the truth.
Oh, love. I'm feeling all the feels for you, and I love you so much. And I'm just so glad we're finally able to do this and get connected and have our chat. Different kind of chat today, but still a chat,
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask you, thank you so much for sharing your love and wisdom with us today. If people want to find out more about you and how they can work with you, where should they go?
They can head over to my website, which is deannalyn.ca, or they can follow me on Instagram, which is at deannalyn.ca. You can get all my contact information on there. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll have that
once
in
this podcast gets out there. I don't know what I have offered, but I do have the community where you can come join in my workouts to build your strength holistically. So and work with me one-on-one.
Yeah. Well, I'll have all your details in the show notes so people can reach out to you. And thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too.
And I'm so grateful to see your journey and where you're at. It's been so beautiful and inspiring to watch.
Oh, don't make me cry too. I already cried once.
Oh girl, I'm gonna make you cry. You're amazing. You're so
I love
amazing.
You. Oh.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.